it's me again here with another episode of Friends of the Bitters Reality. I'm Miriam. I am the founder and curator of the Bitters Reality subscription box and Art of the Cocktail Making Experience. So I wanted to bring today, as I have over the past few weeks, another great friend and colleague in the business, and also a great confidant because she's been very helpful behind the scenes as well, just with her love and respect and just the things that she's told me and her nuggets of honesty and it's just really good information for crying out loud that I really wanted to make sure that everyone else and my subscribers knew of. Miss Lauren Paylor, also known as LP.
Hello. Excited to be here.
Awesome. And so what I would like for you to do today, Lauren, is to kind of talk a bit more about your background, your businesses, as well as, anything you want to share from a personal experience with regards to 2020 and going now we're here in 2021.
Yeah, for sure. So hello, everyone. I'm Lauren Paylor, or LP, whichever you prefer. So I grew up in the Bronx, New York, and currently live in the DC area, Washington, DC. I have a background in healthcare professions and transitioned to food and beverage in 2014. And fell really, really very much in love with it, and realized that at that point, being provided with like some of the best service and hospitality I've ever received. I really knew that I wasn't in the right field. So transitioning to food and beverage was the right choice for me. And, fast forward to current day, I really am in a place where I really genuinely enjoy what I'm doing. I'm very happy with what I'm doing, and that is a beautiful place to be in. So I currently own LP Drinks DC, which is my organization that has transitioned so much over the years, but primarily we do social media management and content, anything from like creating graphic designs, training individuals on how to be a little bit more well equipped on their social media presence, Facebook, Instagram, specifically with food and beverage organizations. And then I own a company called Focus on Health that advocates for the health and wellness of food and beverage employees. I'm a co-founder along with Alex Jump based out in Denver. And that has been such a beautiful experience, really just being able to take things that have worked for both of us and, spread that knowledge and in the hopes that it really does help others as well. Besides that, I'm the Seedlip brand ambassador in DC. I work for an organization called Safe Bars, which focuses on educating individuals on bystander intervention for sexual assault prevention, which is really important, especially in bars and restaurants. And yeah, I wear many other hats, but we'll get into that a little later.
Yeah. So as you can see, as I mentioned before, Lauren is a wealth of information and passion. Because not only did she move away from what maybe some might view as this is the perfect direction to go in terms of healthcare and that industry, into what was her passion, which was to help with the hospitality industry and the bar and food industry. And I think a lot of us are realizing that today as well, as far as focusing on our passions, not so much what our families or what the society deems that we should do, but really what our heart wants us to do. And I think that is so important. And so that's why when I speak with Lauren, it's always love and it's always fun and good vibes every time. So I want to talk a little bit about Bronx. So you live in the Bronx. What is it that you miss the most about at least living there right now, since you have been in DC for how long?
I've been in DC since 2010, which is crazy to think. We're in double digits now. But yeah, I grew up in the Bronx and I miss it a lot. I think, as you get older, you can really, with the reflection that comes with age, right? I like to call it with becoming more wise. I really spent a lot of time really thinking about the way I was raised, where I was raised, the people I surrounded myself with, the experiences, like that pizza shop I miss and love so much, the people who I used to be really tight with. And, although we may not be as tight anymore, I still really appreciate the moments I had with them. So, honestly, what I try to do now is recreate those experiences for individuals, whether it's if I'm creating programs for Focus on Health, how do we really hold on to those memories and those experiences? And we cannot necessarily recreate them, but we can we can really hone in on the way that they make people feel, which I think is probably the most important aspect in regards to what we do on a day to day.
Yeah.
And then honestly, a lot of my family still lives there. So I'm one of eight. So half of them still live in the Bronx, and then half
Okay.
of them actually live in this area, which is nice. But yeah, it's funny you say that because I didn't really think about that for a while, but I do miss it. I
Yeah.
hold on to some things that are just really meaningful to you.
Oh yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that. Especially when I grew up in Alabama, but during my formative years, or those years where you kind of find out who you are, meaning like during high school mostly, I
Yeah,
moved several times, right, between Alabama and Mississippi, and then I ended up spending my time for graduate school up in Cincinnati, Ohio, and I ended up living there for roughly 9 years. And so I've kind of had to quickly grow or quickly adapt. And I think that's actually been very helpful for me as I've gotten older in terms of, whether it's crises or just a change in surroundings, just being able to say, okay, you know what? I'm here now.
for sure.
Let's be the present. What can I achieve today versus looking back? Look back for the vibrations, look back for the positive or even the negative, but just looking back and understanding that that was a time before, this is now. And how will I present myself or participate in the moment right now?
Yeah, what's important about what you just said, I think, is that when we're reflecting, we often focus on the mistake or the hardship or the wrongdoing that we know that we executed or that was done to us. And when I really think that we should be leaning into the lesson. There's so much life to live, and there's so many mistakes that are going to be made, and there are so many great experiences that will occur. But if we really look at each experience and think about what the lesson is or the takeaway is, I think that it just provides us with an opportunity to live a way more meaningful life and a way more intentional life, right?
Yeah. And you know what's crazy about that is that you're not living if you've not failed.
Exactly. If you think I haven't made a mistake, you are.
Right, right. In here today, there have been several things that have happened before I got here that were painful, hurtful, depressing.
Yeah.
But I'm still here.
I mean, you know what? I think too, people are human. We're human. We make mistakes. It's not the mistake that matters. It's what happens afterwards. It's how you redeem yourself. It's the humility. Do you lean into it? Do you acknowledge openly that you made a mistake? Or,
Mm-hmm.
do you completely just ignore the fact that that occurred and try to move forward? So I think really, you know, the way that you react to these situations is what makes you who you are at the end of the day.
Exactly. Like being accountable.
Of course, it's important. Believe me, humility is one of those themes that just reoccurs, and I lean into it. I'm like, you know what? You're right. It's something I have to practice every day. And I get it. It's embarrassing. It can be, but there's nothing wrong with that. We're human.
That's right. So let's now talk a bit more about now you're in DC.
Hmm.
LP Drinks, DC, FOH, right?
Yes. Yeah. So LP Drinks started out as consulting for me, and I still do it. So to give you an idea of that, that's my Instagram handle, LP Drinks DC.
Mm-hmm.
What we do is consulting for bars and restaurants, and we curate cocktail programs specifically for those establishments. World right now, it's way more virtual, so it's been a lot of social media training for various organizations, which is amazing. Some of the best advice I ever got is if you're going to start a business, make sure you're creating and establishing relationships with people not just inside our industry but outside, because those relationships outside are the most important. So I've worked a lot with the National Women's Law Center this year, which has been an amazing experience, and it's not something I ever thought I'd be able to say. Um, but yeah, I think finding those things that you love and you're passionate about. I found myself always being like an event coordinator of sorts at the
Mm-hmm.
establishments I worked at. So really taking that, tying that into focus on health with me, I curate all the programs that we do, right? And then additionally, that social media aspect, that is just so natural for me is something that I can then
Yeah.
share with everyone else. So I just think it's important that we really just acknowledge what it is that we are good at, but also what we love. because I
Yes.
can wake up and do this every day, and I'm happy. But you know, especially given the current times, it's so important. So I think that's just something that it's important to take away.
Yeah. Yeah. Focus on health.
Yeah.
Now, tell us a bit more about the trajectory from, what you're doing as far as the day LP Drinks DC, the establishment that you're working with at the top of COVID,
Hmm.
into FOH, focus on
Yeah.
health. Tell me more about that.
So Alex Jump is a good friend of mine. We've known each other for several years. We used to be brand ambassadors together for a company called Bellamy Bourbon.
Mm,
And yeah, so good. And I saw that she was getting involved. She's always been very vocal about her health and wellness and her journey and difficulties that she's had about anxiety, stress, and whatsoever.
mm, mm.
And I saw that she had just pitched something with the most imaginative bartender competition called Focus on Health. And I was really interested in learning more about it because at the time I was really considering doing something similar. And in my head, I was like, you know what? Rather than start something that will compete with Alex, why don't we join forces? Because there's nothing wrong with that. You know, I really do believe it's important to to count on and to depend on those individuals who are already doing the work. I don't want to recreate the wheel here, right? So,
Yeah.
like for instance, with you, we're gonna partner for a project in the future. You're
Mhm.
already doing something great, so why would I try to do it myself, you know? And so yeah, so I reached out like, hey, I have this idea and I'd really love to chat with you about it. We had a meeting to see if things were aligned, and we felt that what we were both trying to accomplish was very much aligned. And so we joined forces and really kicked off Focus on Health in March of 2019. And now we're here where we are today. And,
Wow.
yeah, our services focus on 5 different pillars of wellness: mental, social, environmental, physical, and financial wellness.
Mm.
And the idea is that wellness is interconnected. So our hope is that in one of those 5 pillars, you can kind of get your start, find something that aligns with you, find something that just is exciting for you, and then everything will kind of fall into place very naturally.
Yeah. And so when I think of, or the things that I've seen around focus on health have been related to the food and beverage industry, and especially related to alcohol. And I've seen a lot of vibe or these discussions around NA
Yeah.
tails or mocktails. And you are a Seedlip ambassador, right? And so talk a bit more, especially now in the midst of the pandemic, how important it is to really understand your options, why it's a passion, at least for you. I've also been challenged as well with regards to my content. Here's a cocktail, but here's another alternative to that if you want to have the same experience but without the alcohol. And how,
Exactly.
especially in the middle of a pandemic, a lot of people are kind of making decisions and maybe they're not used to the amount they have around them at that time, or they're dealing with certain things, that there are options in ways to experience the same thing without going overboard.
I think you said it beautifully. How do I provide the same experience, or in my opinion, a better one for those who don't necessarily choose to imbibe? And that's exactly it. We want to ensure that we are providing a very similar product, right? So with
Mm-hmm.
Seedlip, for instance, our whole ethos is, you know, are we providing the beverage in a similar decadent, beautiful glass with beautiful ice and an gorgeous garnish, or are we putting it in a red sippy cup, Is
Yeah.
the placement of those non-alcoholic beverages in the same place as alcoholic beverages on the menu, or is it in the back with the kids' drinks? And these are things that are important to take into consideration because the same way we accommodate dietary restrictions and we
Mm-hmm.
want those folks to feel inclusive, we also want the folks who choose not to drink, for whatever reason it is that they choose not to drink, to feel like they're included in the experience. So with
Yeah.
Focus on Health, even right now, we have the Mindfulness Matters initiative with in partnership with Perrier.
Mm-hmm.
And we're really talking about dry January, but this idea that 30 days is it's so great that you can implement these changes and these good habits. But what about after that? So we're talking and discussing about sustainable practices and
Yeah.
how we can ensure that these goals that we set are actually going to last.
Awesome. So, and one thing I've also found as well, and this is also a conversation I had with Krista Cotton of El Guapo Bitters, is how so many people, and this I think to me is a respect thing, right? So many people feel that, okay, well, I have a friend, they don't drink. So what I'll do, I'll make a batch or I'll make a cocktail here, and for her or him, I'll just remove the alcohol. Why not start from the beginning and create that experience all the way through? Omitting the alcohol, meaning a mocktail should not just simply be the leftover syrup from a cocktail. It should
Yeah.
actually, it should actually be created from the bottom up.
Or
Meaning,
yeah.
yeah,
Or if it is that syrup, but that syrup was intentionally designed to be wonderful in both those beverages, right?
exactly. Yeah, because a lot of time when one makes a cocktail, like if I am sitting here today and I'm playing around with ingredients and flavors, I'm basing it off a spirit, right? And so if I remove the spirit from that particular cocktail and I don't think about what it would be like without the spirit, I've not paid homage to these those who
Exactly.
don't want to actually have the alcohol at that point. And I feel like that to me would be disrespectful to that person and
Yeah.
to as far as the artist, right?
Yeah, and that brings up a good point. We want to consider a few things. We want to consider flavor. We want to consider texture and density, because when you're not using a spirit, a Seedlip, for instance, has zero sugar. So you want to incorporate texture with soda water, with egg white, with aquafaba, with sugar, right? And then additionally, we want to consider the experience from beginning to end. What we drink and we eat with our eyes. How beautiful does this cocktail look? What's the
Yes,
color of the cocktail? What are the aromatics I'm getting from it? Well, like it is when it comes across the room, am I smelling that burnt thyme, et cetera, et cetera. So, um, especially now with everything being to go, we still, we've had to pivot a little bit. How are we still providing that experience in a way that's curated very differently than what we're accustomed to, right? Considering that citrus I'm putting in the drink, how long is it going to be fresh for? And I mean fresh. We want it to be the best quality it can possibly be. We don't want anyone getting sick. So it's really just being mindful about all those things.
exactly, exactly. Lovely, lovely. So now, safe. I want to touch on that real quick because I think it's very important, especially women in the industry, and how important it is to make sure that our voices are heard, even men, even those of a different persuasion, in terms of this is my passion, this is what I come here to do every day in terms of my job. I want to know that I am safe. Tell us a bit more how your work in that industry with regards to the safe training that you do and how impactful it has been thus far.
Yeah, Safe Bars is an amazing organization based in DC, and we teach bystander intervention strategies. The thing that's really important to acknowledge and to know is that alcohol is obviously something that can be present in those instances. It's weaponizing, it's used as a weapon, but it is not the reason why these instances occur. And that is so important to remember, because we often victimize individuals and say, well, you were drunk or you were drinking. And that is absolutely not the reason why these things happen.
Yes.
Additionally, we're training on de-escalation courses right now because of the rise of violence occurring against essential workers. Unfortunately, on the news, we hear way too often of people just being attacked, whether it is physically or verbally. And so we're doing trainings on how to ensure that we are de-escalating situations and not leaning into, those often uncomfortable and irate guest encounterings that occur in establishments.
Awesome. That is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's fun. I enjoy it. The way it started for me was I was actually a person attending a class, and I was like, I went up to the instructor immediately after. It was just 5 years ago. And I was like, I teach this class. This is amazing. It's such a beautiful thing. So, yeah, definitely reach out and look into it if you're interested. It is totally and absolutely worth it.
Awesome. Double check your Wi-Fi there for a quick second because I think I had a little delay, but I could hear everything though. All right, there you
We paused. We paused for like a second, but I think we're good now.
go. Okay, awesome. Okay, so
Can you hear me now?
Oh, I can hear you. I still was able to hear you. I can see the video kind of moving a little slow. That's all. All right. So for everyone, reminders, you can reach out and learn more about Lauren's mini ventures. Her IG at FOH or FO Help, as well as at LP Drinks DC. You can also visit her website, www.fohelp.org, as well as just look out for more information about our venture together in the coming future. Now, it is time for the speed round. Are you ready? You drink your water?
Let's do it.
All right. So, back in the Bronx, or at least I'll share this story. One of my favorite memories with visiting friends in New York was just walking around the city and visiting one of those dollar pizza slice restaurants, the walk-ups.
Yeah.
I love it because when we sat down, well, first of all, it says $1 slice. You get there, it's $1 slice for the cheese only, and there's no cheese. And so then you got all these other options, but they're still cooking the cheese. And so I just remember this one time we were sitting there, and I forget the name of it, and I loved the experience so much because it was this pack of people. And the one guy, and I guess it kind of ties into what you were saying about safe, but I feel like he was a little justified, but not in going overboard, but just simply, you have $1 on your sign, but you don't have it here. What's going on? That was the funniest thing ever to me. So my question is for you. What is your favorite food experience back home in the Bronx?
Oh man. Anything on Arthur Avenue. So if as all of y'all might know, or maybe you might not know, the Bronx is seriously a melting pot. So you can walk from one block to the next and you have a strip of Italian food, and I'm talking authentic Italian food. Next block is a strip of Dominican food. Next block is a strip of Cuban food. Amazing. So anywhere on Arthur Avenue, anywhere on Arthur Avenue.
Okay, I have that noted now. I hope my friends Jeremy Keith can hear that. And Natasha. Okay. All right. So, as far as in the industry, what is your favorite cocktail? What is your favorite mocktail?
Yeah, my favorite cocktail is Tom Collins any day. Who doesn't love a gin lemonade with a little soda water, right? My favorite non-alcoholic beverage, I'm really into yuzu right now. So
Okay.
Andra Lynn Johnson actually recently made me a drink. It had yuzu, a green tea honey syrup, some Seedlip.
Mm.
Oh, it was so good.
It was so fragrant too, I can tell.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Okay. I don't recall the name of your dog. Tell us a little bit more about your puppy, your little.
Yeah. So I have two guys. I
Okay.
adopted one during quarantine. Then
Okay.
his name is Dozer. He's a Stratfordshire Terrier mix. He's 2 years old. Then I have Rufus, who is a boxer mix, who is 12 years old.
Nice. What is a quote that you live by day to day?
What is a?
A quote you live by day to day.
Um, let's see. I think one thing that really resonates with me is, and I posted this on my page the other day, your future is as bright as the intentions that you set for yourself. So if I wake up and I am, positive, then I am probably more likely to achieve the things that I am hoping to achieve. And I think just having that positive mentality, even though it's been really difficult to do that lately, is the best thing for all of us, truly.
Yeah. Book you're reading right now.
That's actually funny. I'm reading a fermentation book right now. I'm really, really, really obsessed with anything fermentation. Very intimidating topic. I highly recommend that y'all get into it. Um, and then I've actually, not a book, but I've actually recently subscribed to Imbibe magazine, and I've just been like diving in deep, just trying to get a little inspiration. And it's really great for just introducing you to bartenders all over, that you might not necessarily know. So,
Yeah. And then as far as who is an individual that dead or alive that you would want to sit and have a meal with in the next week?
Elaine
Why?
Welteroth. She's an author, amazing author, and I recently got a subscription for Christmas to something called the Betterness Box.
Mhm.
Actually, I just broke down the box, so I don't have it anymore. And it's like a health and wellness box, and this book was in it. And her book that where is it? It's over there. Oh, I'll show you guys it later. But it's a beautiful book called More Than Enough, and it just resonates with me a lot. I think it's one of those things, if you're looking for like positive affirmation or just a little positivity, it's definitely a book that you can dive deep into. It really discusses her experience as a Black woman in America.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. So, is
Yeah.
there anything that you want to share or leave us with today as we complete our first weekend, or at least our first Saturday in 2021?
I know. Yeah, honestly, I think it's keep your chin up and keep moving forward. There is only one life to live. I know that's such a cliche thing at the moment, but as I've become more and more happy with my life and the people I surround myself with and the things that I get to do, I just realized the importance of ensuring that you have the power to you have the power to achieve happiness, and there's nothing wrong with cutting people off, saying no, taking that nap. Just do the things that are good for you.
Awesome. Well, with that, everyone, I want to thank you so much for sharing your insights and more information about what
Yeah.
you're working on. Let's all support each other at the end of the day. Looking forward to many more opportunities and discussions and chats, and hopefully in person, some tea cakes and some tea and some wine
That'd be
and
so great.
all of
All
that.
the things. All the things.
Exactly. Yeah. So with that, thank you so much,
Thanks for
and
having me.
have a wonderful rest of your day.
You
Thank you.
too.